What's going on, everybody? This is Cinerama 60. Every time I get on there, I do that, Mike. Cinerama 60,
Yeah,
and uh, and I guess we're here tonight to talk about noir films. Completely screwed up. I've had this in my head all afternoon. I screw up the name, screw everything up. But
that's
yeah,
the way it
this is
goes.
I'm John. This is Mike. This is Cinerama 60, and yeah, we were involved in a little discussion there before we got on air, talking a little bit about noir, and came on a couple seconds late. So welcome everybody to our stream, and if you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section. You can join in on the discussion and talk about noir films. Tell us your favorite noir films and your thoughts and comments about noir, because that's what our discussion is going to be about this evening. And yeah, so I really don't know kind of
Yeah.
where to start at, Mike. I guess I started watching some of these. What made me want to do this is, well, obviously you were doing kind of the Noir November thing, and I was watching your videos, and I've not seen near as many as you have, but I've seen quite a few noirs, and a lot of times I like to go. My favorite thing is not. I don't listen to a lot of commentary tracks, but I do like to watch documentaries and those
Mhm.
type of supplements. But I started watching those documentaries and kind of people's explanation of noir, and it kind of led me down to the thought process of, and kind of from my observation is, I don't really find personally don't find noir a genre, and I don't know, and I feel like some people lump it into its own genre, and I don't really think it's a genre because it's kind of it kind of encompasses other genres. Like a genre would be a western, a comedy, a horror, drama,
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Drama's a little broad for just calling it a genre,
Yeah.
but dramas have subgenres like melodrama and things like that. But but there can be western noirs, and I'm sure there's stuff that's considered like, I guess there might be horror noirs. I'm not. That's something I've never really dove into. I'm not a massive horror person. I'm sure there's some comedy noirs,
Hmm.
but there's certainly western noirs, like I said before, and they're so you kind of. I just it I'm trying to put it into words. It encompasses more than just a single genre. So it's more than a genre to me. So that's kind of my
Yeah.
kind of first thoughts about it. What do you how do you feel about it?
Well, yeah, I kind of agree with you, but I don't know. It's like a lot of the film noirs, quote film noirs have, they got a lot of it, started, I guess, initially out like it's a drama, but it's got suspense, or it's got a touch of this or touch of that, and I guess somewhere along the way, I guess after World War II, they really started the label of film noir. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I guess it is sort of it was sort of like a temporary genre in a way. I mean, it kind of was, but it's not like, say, horror movie now, because horror
Yeah,
has been from the beginning of filmmaking to now still, but
yeah,
film noir was mainly in that certain time period, and true film noir. But yeah, I think I agree with you. I see it from both ways, but there's some movies where it's just like, I don't know how else to describe this movie but as a film noir. You know what I mean? Because it kind of
right.
goes beyond certain things. So um, I don't know. It's kind of hard to watch a detective type movie, the Maltese Falcon or the Big Sleep or something like that, and just say, wow, that's film noir. But I don't know. I
Yeah,
guess
yeah,
it's kind of broad though. It's kind of a broad thing. Yeah. Um. So I don't know.
yeah. I thought, one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit is, I guess what I'm trying to put into words. I guess what kind of makes a noir? What can you actually break down and say like what a noir is. I mean, because a lot of aspects of noir that's kind of associated with a noir film can be found in other film. You know, found in different
Oh
types of
yeah,
films, like the
yeah,
voiceovers or shadowing, or those type of production elements aren't like just they're not just a specific thing to a noir film, but you do
mhm,
find them in a lot of noirs, and some of them may have been started by noirs, like
yeah. Well, yeah, I was going to say, I just had this thought, like, it's like with westerns. You can only say it's a western because why is it a western? Because you got horses and dusty
yeah,
town, and it's in the 1800s. But what if we just called this a horse drama, and it's not a western? You know what I mean? You wouldn't do
yeah,
that, but it'd be just
yeah,
automatically you'd have to say western. But it could be a
yeah,
Civil War movie, but it may look
yeah,
westerny. So, but I think what makes a film noir is kind of got the tropes in it, like the bad woman who's either trying to lead a guy down a road, like you kill my husband and I'll be yours and we'll take the money and we'll run off, and or usually it's double crossings and backstabbings and like plans gone wrong and stuff like that. Usually there's always somebody that's the victim. It's usually a guy that's led into it somehow, or sometimes a woman led into it. But the
yeah,
classic noir has always got like a guy, maybe he's back from World War II and he's trying to do something and falls in with the wrong crowd, or it has, other thing we didn't talk about was like the gangster movie of like the 30s, like Warner
yeah,
Brothers made the gangster movie, and that kind of morphed into what we're talking about, the film noir, because it was like the gangster movie with suspense and drama all kind of smashed together to make it more dramatic, and
yeah,
stuff. So, but yeah, it's like, like some of the gangster movies from the 30s and stuff kind of changed into that. So
yeah.
usually a crime element, bank robbery, a big, what do you call it? A big heist,
Heist.
like
Yeah,
yeah, heist movie or something like that, um, which make it, stand out a little different than a regular movie.
yeah,
But like in 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, we've had movies that were heist movies and stuff like that, but they weren't film noir. They were just a crime movie, a movie. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, that's a good point you brought up about film noir. Like where, the title of it. Is it like a genre, or is it a subgenre, or is it not a genre at all? It's just. Yeah, I mean, that's a
Yeah.
good point you brought up. So, um,
The the one thing that I haven't explored a lot in as far as anything I've read is now was you might know the answer to this. Now, in the era in the 40s, and in the era of the noir, was these movies actually coined noir, or has that been something that's came along later on to turn to basically put these in a category later on down the road?
Yeah, I don't I,
Like,
I don't know. I know when the French New Wave started in the 60s, like the early 60s, uh, some of the people that were writers in France, like Truffaut and Melville and Godard and people like that, who started out as like journalists or film, what do you call it, like critics and stuff, and then they got really inspired by the Warner Brothers crime movies and some of
yeah,
those, and I think they started coining it film noir. I'm not sure 100%, but after that point, it was pretty much film noir. And they started,
yeah,
drawing a lot more attention to it, and like you said, they started like really having appreciation for these movies that were just basically B movies, second feature movies back when they came out. They weren't the top tier movies unless Bogart or somebody was in it, but once they started drawing attention to it and praising them and stuff, showing a new appreciation for them, that they kind of had their own category. I think that's when they really came into film noir, just once the French really caught
yeah.
on to that. I mean, that's one theory, I think. I mean,
Well,
it's a good
one of the things I wanted to do is I'm going to read a couple a couple of definitions here of film noir. The first will be from Wikipedia, and the next is from an online encyclopedia. But I was wanting to do this so we can see what they have to say about it. And I don't necessarily like the Wikipedia, but I'm going to read it because this Wikipedia, it's generally, it's not necessarily a place you can kind of trust information all the time, but it is written by people. So as long as the person writing this is fairly competent, I kind of trust a review like this. But
Yeah.
I'll let me read. This is going to be Wikipedia's. I pull it up here so everybody can see it. I'll read it here, but it says film noir, French, is a cinematic term used primarily to describe stylish Hollywood crime dramas, particularly those that emphasize cynical attitudes and motivations. In the 1940s and 50s are generally regarded as the classic period of American film noir. Film noir of the era is associated with low-key, black-and-white visual style that has roots in German expressionist cinematography. Many of the prototypical stories and much of the attitude of classic noir derives from hard-boiled school of crime fiction that emerged from the United States during the Great Depression. It's not a bad description, but the next one is from, let's see, encyclopedia.com. In 1946, French film critics coined the term film noir, meaning black or dark film, to describe the newly emergent quality in wartime Hollywood films. At that time, the term signified an unexpected strain on maturity in contemporary American filmmaking, that making the end of creatively ossified era and the beginning of a bold new one. By the time the term achieved wide English language usage in the 1960s, however, it come to mean dark Hollywood films of the past, films whose era and style were no longer current. Despite such slippage in definition, film noir remains arguably the most protein and I don't know if that's that right. Protein and influential of American film forms. It has demonstrated a limitless capacity for reinnovation, has undergone major cycles of redefinition, has analogs of only in other national cinemas, but also in radio, television, theater, fiction, graphic novels, comic books, advertising, and graphic design. The term has moved beyond the domain of film discourse and has been used to describe narratives other than media and genres that in even a film noir lipstick. So that's
Wow.
a pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good term.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool that they, it's all kind of based on a term that somebody kind of coined, and it all gave way to this whole, cycle of films and stuff. And like it said, reinventing itself over the years. That's kind of like what we see, we can still see little bits of, because like even when they did, what was it? The Wolverine movie, what was the one?
Logan.
Logan, yeah. Like when Logan came out, they had the two versions. So they did a black and white version and called it the noir version because it was black and white, which I thought was cool. But so I mean, I don't know. Yeah,
I think it's the wrong coinage trying to just call it noir because you put it in black and white, though.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely not what makes it a noir. That's what I was kind of getting at. I was not in the beginning. I wasn't trying to break down and talk bad about noir. I was just trying to because I think it's too many things. It's a weird thing to talk about because there's too many elements to make a noir. But a noir is definitely a noir, because it's hard to explain. It's
got
really
a lot
hard to
of
explain what it is because there's different ones. There's different ones. There's anti-noirs. There's things that still noir, but it kind of doesn't do what a typical noir does. With the behavior of the characters and things like that. How's it going? Moonshine and whiskey, redneck. We're doing all right.
Yeah, I was going to say it has, like you said. Well, like you said, there's so many ingredients in it, that makes it what it is. That it's I don't know, it's limitless in a way, because I mean, it could be a sci-fi noir in a way, and I think there has been sci-fi noirs. Like I think there was a movie, 1981, Sean Connery movie, Outland, where he plays basically like a police officer on this space station type city area. I think it's a space station, or maybe it's on a planet, and it has that elements of film noir, but it's in
Yeah.
space,
Yeah.
and so I guess
Well,
there's a lot of ways to doing stuff.
I'm trying to think. Actually, I didn't pull it over here, but uh, I think it's Godard. That movie I have. Something City. It's called. What is the name of that?
Oh, Dark
Uh,
City.
no, it's
Dark City.
yeah, I'm sorry. But it's a Godard movie, but it's it's obviously shot just in the the modern parts of Paris. They shot it to make it look futuristic. It's supposed to take place off planet, but it's definitely like
Oh
very
yeah.
noir was. It's very
Oh,
noir is.
Alphaville.
Alphaville, yeah,
Alpha
excuse me,
Alphaville.
Alphaville.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
It's definitely very a noir esque type of a
hmm
movie.
hmm Yeah, I got that on Laserdisc, man. I think I've only watched it once. I need to. It's
Yeah.
been a long, long time, so I need to rewatch that. Um, but yeah, it's just I don't know. It's a really cool, interesting thing. I mean, now it's like you can pretty much bring noir up, and a lot of young people know what it is. They instantly think it's somebody in a top hat, in a fedora, and they're something,
Yeah.
killing a murderer, something, but it's kind of cool that it's still around and it's marketed still. Studios make, you know, they put out a noir movie, it's popular, which is good still.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but those early days in in the 40s and 50s, there were so many good ones. I mean, they just turned them out. I don't know, they were cranking them out as much as westerns, or if there was more westerns being cranked out at that time period, or
Yeah.
noirs. But like there's really good ones, pretty good ones, and bad ones. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like even the cheap studios, had them going. What the PRCs
Well,
and the monograms and
well, what I it's almost a early it's almost like a period where they almost allowed for a lot of artistic, obviously that's what we kind of read there in that last statement, that it allowed for a little bit more artistic expression. It seems like they were allowing almost like, I mean, it was, I guess it's just low budget filmmaking. They just allowed, because you had a lot of
mm,
experimental production techniques taking place that kind of took shape in those, like camera, kind of experimental camera angles and
mm,
use of lighting and things, and
yeah,
a little, all that kind of stuff. And but especially, I mean, the definitely some movies more than others, but they really take advantage of black and white shadowing, and
mm,
that's really impressive. And because
yeah.
I watched a movie on Netflix the other day. I don't know if you've seen it, but have you seen Mank? Have you seen that? It's the
I've heard of it, but I haven't been able to watch it yet.
yeah, it's
Uh,
the
About
biopic
Mank.
of, yeah, Howard Mankiewicz, yeah, and
Yeah, yeah.
they shot it in black and white, but it's digital black and white, and it's just not the same,
Mm-mm.
because it's not so much that the grain or anything's missing. It's just too well lit,
Mm.
it's just I don't it's hard to say. I used to think
Yeah.
that you could get away. I mean, sometimes digital, it looks fine when they do it, and but this one
Mm.
just didn't. But sometimes the way, if they don't, I don't know, if they don't get the speed right or something on the cameras, then it looks fake. It looks like a soap opera.
Just yeah, it just
Yeah,
looks like they just turned the color off, which is what they did.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I mean, I don't know. It's like using film stocks, like some of the film stocks from back then. I mean, you look at the black in the film stock, and it's like I don't know, the black has a real deepness to it. It's like really
yeah,
black. And then you see stuff now where they turn it down, and it's more gray. It's more of a, it's almost like a white and gray picture. It's like the blacks are very turned down and stuff. I don't know. I guess if you watch enough movies, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's hard to describe, I guess, but it's something organic about it. Also, it's just, I don't know. You can tell it's film compared to
Yeah.
a digital signal. So, but yeah, it's like you're talking about the lighting and stuff like that. That's all the German expressionist, techniques by some of the German guys that came over in the 30s, and the Fritz Langs and well, Jacques Tourneur was French, but he kind of used some of that too, some of the techniques of that, and some of the cinematographers and stuff like,
where
they
was
use those.
Billy Wilder? He was foreigner too, but where was he from? I can't remember.
I think he was originally he's Austrian, actually.
Yeah.
I was just watching something about him, and yeah, he came over here, and he was one of the people that made the big exodus in the early 30s and stuff. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. I don't know. It's just it's just the techniques and stuff, and it really, they were doing those things, and they could do it on the low budget because they had no budget or little budget. So it's like, well, if we use these camera setups and we use, we don't have much lighting, so we'll do it like this, and we'll cheat a little bit and stuff, and it turned out really good, and they stayed on budget and stuff. And then then the bigger studios started copying that. It's like, well, we're going to make a movie that looks like this and stuff, but do it on a bigger budget and stuff. But I don't know, man. It's just, I'm trying to think, what was the first film noir I saw, which is hard to remember exactly what, but
Jocelyn Foster, I'm a little bit of a boomer, but it says VOFYI. I don't know what VOH supposed to be, but I'm assuming it's a code VO. It says VOFIH, so I don't know what that, I don't know what that means, and I can't look it up for some reason. My phone is not. For some reason, my connection on my phone is not working, so I don't know what that means.
Yeah. For your information, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know what she means by VO or just VO or VOH. I don't know.
Oh, VO, yeah. I don't know either sometimes. But yeah, man.
We're both boomers for the most part. We're a little younger than boomers, but
oh yeah, we're technically we're a lot younger than boomers, but we're more the.
But boomers are generally on the internet, people, older guys who not good with technology, which I'm good with technology. I'm just not good with the language of the youth.
Yeah, the latest stuff, yeah. It's like my son will say, be back in a minute. I'd be like, be something, and he'll say that to us, and it's like, well, can't you just say be back in a minute or something? And he'll say BB, he'll abbreviate it, say it to us.
Well, that's where the language is going to head to, because all the social media, all this abbreviations and stuff like that. It's the dumbing down of language is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's something I like about the older movies, and or just movies with good scripts and original scripts and stuff. Because like you've done some spotlights on P.T. Anderson and Wes Anderson here lately, and both of them are great writers. When you watch their movies, not only do you got this really good story and script, you got their flair for direction and all their cast of characters they put in the movies, and it really makes it special to go to the movies again, because I do like a good story. I like something different, because I don't think we get that enough anymore.
Yeah, when I was other day when I mentioned that P.T. Anderson movie, what was I talking about?
Was it
I lost my train of thought there. Yeah.
Magnolia. Am I
No, it
thinking?
was it was his latest movie, or before Phantom
Oh,
Thread.
oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. See, I do the same thing.
Yeah,
It's on the tip of my tongue, man. The one that was kind of a noirish, like a neo
yeah,
noir.
yeah.
Uh, I can't think of.
I'm stupid, man. I swear, I'm the same way. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But the reason we'll think of the name here in a minute. But
It starts with an I. Oh,
Inherent Vice,
yeah,
Inherent
Inherent
Vice.
Vice. Yeah, yeah,
Thank you. But Inherent Vice, it was the reason I brought that up is it's not. It's probably I would classify it more as probably a crime movie, crime comedy, or whatever you want to call it. But it's
yeah.
got some noir elements in it. I don't think, but I kind of brought that up just for a point of conversation about how a lot of things you can classify as a noir, but probably really are not noirs. But that's why it makes noir so broad. You can't really. It's hard to
Yeah.
describe a noir down to
Well,
the T.
well, I just thought that it's like, okay, when we watch a movie by like Quentin Tarantino, like Jackie Brown or Pulp Fiction, why do we not call those neo noirs or noir? Because
Yeah,
they have same elements, but we don't call them that.
yeah. I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking earlier. You said, "Well, is Pulp Fiction a noir?" I mean, he obviously called it Pulp Fiction, so he wanted it to refer to more as pulp from pulp comics, and I think that's what he was trying to make, not a noir, but it
It-
has noir elements in it
yeah,
because you really don't have because you got kind of this sinister overtone to the movie, but you don't really have a particular bad guy. You kind of do, but he kind of ends up not being the bad guy. It kind of goes in a more noirish path to,
mm,
but and then you have like the MacGuffin of the story, which you see sometimes in noirs, which was the thing, the unseen thing in the
yeah,
briefcase,
yeah,
and that's kind of noirish as well. So
yeah. That's from a movie, a famous noir movie called Kiss Me Deadly, where they basically used it the same way in that movie because you didn't know what was in it, and it was they would open the suitcase and I always thought it had something to do with like plutonium or something, you know, something
yeah,
alien maybe even because they never really tell you what it is. But I think that he took it
yeah,
directly from that, I believe. And
yeah,
but yeah, like you said, a good MacGuffin. You can use that multiple times. But but yeah, it's like Jackie Brown is more traditional. I don't think I've ever heard it described as any kind of noir or anything. It's just it's funny how that works out.
yeah.
But yeah,
I think they just kind of abandoned that kind of they just kind of abandoned that phrasing, I guess, just
and he's
because
a
a lot of people. This is what's crazy is like, I mean, it's just like we don't have a lot of people watching tonight. I mean, people don't have any interest in old movies. I mean, they just don't. I mean, a lot of people, if it's black and white, they run for the hills. I mean,
uh,
I've had several people basically say, "Was it if is it in color?" And you're like, "Yeah, no." It would depend on what you're talking about, and they're like, "Oh, if it's color," you're like, "Oh, that's good." But even
yeah,
some of the stuff, there's a lot of old stuff in color that you wouldn't watch.
yeah.
It was kind of like I think Joe Bob Briggs was talking about when he did his was it TCM show? What was that show he did on in the '90s? The
Oh, that was on. I think it was on USA
Yeah,
Network.
USA. Yeah, it was the what monster program, whatever he did. But he did like horror movies and stuff like that,
Mm,
kind of. But he said whenever he said, well, we were allowed to play anything except that movies with certain color that looked like a certain way, and from basically saying well, anything from about 1970 and earlier we can't show, and anything
mm,
from the 70s up we can show just because of the color grading, Technicolor
yeah,
and stuff like that we can't show.
yeah. I don't know. It's weird. I mean, I mean, some of these movies, like there were some remakes in the '70s. One of them had Robert Mitchum in it. It was basically a remake of one of the uh, what was it called? I should have took a note on this. It's like I think it was called it wasn't Murder My Sweet because that was it was like Murder something like that. But anyways, it was an updating of one of the like Bogart movies, and it was in color, and it still had the same feel, theme, and
Yeah.
you know of an old one. So, but yeah, I mean, I
Well,
don't know. I mean, I think there is some appreciation still for black and white. I think people, I think it
well,
just depends.
people like us. I'm not talking about just like, but I'm talking about normies. What you call a normie. People that don't watch a lot of movies. Watch a lot of old movies. They just watch contemporary movies, and that's about it.
Mhm. Or they
And
think,
some people, well, what they think's old. People think the '80s is old. That's not.
yeah,
Which
yeah,
I
they go
mean,
back
I
to,
guess it is old for millennials, but
yeah,
but so
I couldn't see my kids, which are teenagers, watching something from like 1920 or something and really digging it. But yeah, it's possible if they gave it a
yeah,
chance. But I don't know. It's just weird. I was a teenager when I discovered old movies, and
yeah,
I I never thought that way. I guess it's that right movie as an entryway. That gateway movie, and it just really breaks all that down, and you really don't think about it like that. So I don't know.
yeah.
Because you have to be open to it in some way.
But tonight me and Mike were going to select a few movies each to talk about a little bit, and for me, these aren't my favorite. Probably, I mean, they are amongst my favorite movies I've watched so far in terms of film noir, but obviously, I've only saw a small percentage of film noir at this point, so I can't make that kind of judgment. But we selected different films each to kind of talk about, and I've got a whole stack here that we can kind of get into as well. But if you want to kind of start, Mike, then I'd
Okay.
like to see what you were interested in talking about.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's one movie we both kind of agreed on. Well, I guess we'll talk about that last or something because I was going to show a laser disc of it because I don't have it on Blu-ray or DVD yet. So, but I'm going to start with a movie that I just watched the other day. It's called Dead Reckoning. I don't know if that show it backwards there or not. Dead Reckoning. Um,
No,
it's a
it's right way around.
oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's a movie from 1947. It's got Humphrey Bogart. It's got an actress named Lisbeth Scott. This was Humphrey Bogart at Columbia Pictures. He had been at Warner Brothers for the longest time, and I think this may have been a one-off movie, or he had a small contract to Columbia or something. But it was directed by John Cromwell. I'm not really sure about any other movies he did, but it's a pretty cool movie. I remember seeing it a long time ago. Um, but basically, him and a buddy. This is right after World War II. They were both paratroopers, and you hear a bunch of references to paratroopers and jumping out of planes and stuff between them. Kind of opens up in a church, and he's talking to a priest. He's confessing, you know, what had happened, and they basically show a series of flashbacks and stuff like that. Where he's talking about his buddy, who they're coming back to America, and they're going to be his buddy's going to be given a Medal of Honor. So they're all ready to,
I'm
go do.
listening to you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm listening to you.
Well,
Sorry.
yeah, I'm trying to figure if I should read all this or not. But anyways, he disappears from the plane or from the train, and Bogart basically spends most of the movies trying to figure out what is going on. Where did he go? And he ends up being, they find him and he's burned up in a car, and then he's still trying to figure out like all this stuff. And it's just, I don't know, it's really good. It's very dark in a way for a like Humphrey Bogart movie, and I thought it was pretty cool. And it's a movie that you can find it pretty easily on DVD. I think it's on Blu-ray also, but it's a great movie to check out. It's probably streaming somewhere too. So
I was trying to think if I'd seen that one. That's one. It being Bogart, he's up there and one of my favorite actors. So
mm-hmm.
I need to check that out. I thought I might have seen it. I wasn't sure though. I don't think I have.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that they showed a lot on TV, and I've seen it over the years, but it's, you know, it's pretty much Humphrey Bogart being in a quote noir movie, even though he started in like the Maltese Falcon and it was just a crime picture, you know, it was a mystery movie, but now he's actually in a movie where they're saying, well, this is like a film noir type movie, so it's kind of interesting. The co-star in it, the woman, her name was Lisbeth with an L, Scott, and she was in a series of film noirs during this time period, and she was difficult to get along with on set, and she was paid an exorbitant amount of money to be in these movies and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting. I got a few movies watching her in it. She has a pretty interesting story, true life story, but I don't know. I thought that was something to show. I just watched it the other day, so it was kind of fresh on my brain. So
yeah, I didn't mean to be disrespectful in the middle on my phone. I'd forgot to send a friend of mine. He wanted me to send him the link to the video, and I'd forgot to do it earlier on.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I was listening to you.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we could talk about
it. It sounds like a pretty good movie, though. I love Bogart. When Bogart, when they write really, when his dialogue is written really well, he can deliver it as good as anybody can. As far as, I don't know, just with quickness and speed, you know, it's just he's just a great actor.
Yeah, he has a
great actor.
Where his voice, you know, his voice is just, you know, original, unmistakable. You know who it is as soon as you hear it, and plus this was him kind of going into his later period, because I think he would pass away in like 1956. I want to say something like that, 56 or something. So this was kind of his last period of movies. You know, he started doing some different stuff. But yeah, that's pretty interesting with that. So I don't know. What did you come up with?
The first thing is Mike kind of, like I told Mike earlier, he was kind of more on the path of, well, I guess that's a Bogart movie, so that's probably a pretty well-known movie. Mm-hmm. But Mike kind of was on more of a path of stuff you hadn't heard of as much, which I've watched some as well, a lot like that as well, but I've mostly kind of explored more well-known things also. So, but what I came up with is I had this set, and I hadn't even watched any of this stuff until a little while ago, but I bought this Film Noir archive set. I've got the first one. That's the only one I have at the moment. Weird. That's weird.
Yeah,
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
That's weird. It sounds like I just all of a sudden started getting that's strange. But the movie I watched on here I wanted to talk about, I'm getting like I'm getting monitoring in my, which is not supposed to be happening. It's real bizarre.
Yeah, I thought I heard that a minute ago when I was talking.
The first movie you can't really see, but it would be this first movie here called Address Unknown.
Oh, okay.
On the very first movie here. And the reason I really enjoyed this movie was not only is it a noir, but it's also kind of a World War II noir, which I guess quite a few of them started being like that. But this one kind of takes place around, you got a couple of guys at the beginning. They're one's like an art dealer, and the other's his German friend. And this is like kind of, I guess it's supposed to take place in kind of the mid to late 30s, before right at the time that Hitler comes to power. So but they're both living in San Francisco, and the art dealer has a daughter, and the art dealer has a daughter, and the German guy has a son, but the son is working for the art dealer, and the daughter is wanting to be an aspiring actress. So those two were originally at the beginning of the story going to get married, and then she decides to, like, she's like, basically like, we're not going to get married because I want to be an actress. So she goes to Germany back to Germany with the German people, and the son stays working with the. Sorry, I'm over explaining this, but basically they go.
No.
The father, German father, goes back to Germany, and they start to and Hitler starts coming to power. So he starts having these people start influencing him to be a Nazi. Basically, they started influencing him with like offices of power, and and initially what the father's doing over there is he's basically going to Germany so he can send artwork back to the dealer so they can sell it. They're kind of partners in this art gallery. So, but he starts getting influenced by the Nazis and gets more and more entrenched into power with the Nazis. And his son's there with his friend, and he's seeing these letters he's writing, and he sees him getting darker and darker and darker. And his letters getting darker and more authoritarian in his actions and his speaking, and eventually, but the girl, she has went to Vienna to start learn, I guess, being trained to be an actress. You don't really know, but you you but she comes back and to be in a actual production in Germany, but they find out that she's changed her name, and her real name is she's actually Jewish.
Mm.
So she ends up basically she ends up like she ends up they find out about her, and she gets basically in the middle of this play she's been asked to it's basically she's reciting, like, it's like a Christmas time play, and she's reciting like verses from the Bible, and they've told her in the the ministry, whatever the German official comes in and says, "Hey, you need to redact this from it. We don't want you saying these things." And she decides to do it anyway. So she gets ran out of the play and chased, and then she gets basically chased through the streets, and she ends up into the country, and she ends up back at her the people's house that the father figure, or her friends, her or I guess her kind of ex-fiance's father, who was kind of living with. She ends up at his doorstep, and he basically turns his back to her, and they end up shooting her right on his doorstep. So it's basically ends up being. I'm sorry I went through so much explaining there, but he basically ends up. They basically end up the art dealer's father ends up, and the son ends up writing a series of letters that basically he's making it look like he's encoding these letters to him, so he gets him in trouble in Germany, and his son seeks revenge on the death of this girl. And it's just like it's a very interesting World War II noir tale.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty
I know I didn't do
interesting.
it any justice. I was over explaining it, but
No,
it's a
there's
pretty it's a very interesting story. And this is something I wanted to talk about a little bit earlier about noir. Is noirs, a lot of them, the plot, they like pull a kind of a cloak and dagger kind of plot twist at the very beginning. A lot of times they'll make you think that the plot's going in one direction, and you think, well, this is what this story is, and then it shifts gears and it does something else, and that's where the plot is going. And a lot of
yeah,
noirs tend to do that.
yeah. Yeah,
I've found.
I've seen a handful of movies like that dealing with like
I can't
World
hear
War
you now,
II.
Mike.
Oh, can you hear me now? Wonder why. Let me try something.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Unplug your microphone and plug it back in. I'm sorry, everybody. We're having some technical difficulties. That's StreamYards for you. Trying to figure out here what this girl's trying to say to me. I don't know why.
Hear me?
Yeah,
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I don't know.
I can hear you, John. Can you hear me?
It doesn't matter, I guess. But
Can you hear me?
you may have to leave and come back in.
Okay, let me try that.
Reset everything. Yeah, I'm sorry
Okay.
about our difficulties, everybody. But yeah, I had a little bit of long-winded. I had a kind of a long-winded definition for that, a little long-winded review for that movie. It was a very nice noir. It's called Address Unknown. Let's see if you can see this image a little bit better. There you go. There's Address Unknown. This is another one. Escaping the Fog is another good one I might talk about here in a little bit.
Can you hear me,
Can you
John?
hear me? I
I
can't
can hear
hear you
you.
still.
Huh.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me go back out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're still having technical difficulties here with Mike. His mic went out on him, but noir seems to they seem well. Let's see. Now he's having trouble connecting. So I don't know. What do you guys think about noir out there? What are your guys' favorite noirs? If you whoever's watching out here. But what I was trying to talk about earlier with Mike was that some of these noirs they seem to be almost like the early. They're kind of are like an early version of kind of the independent movie for Hollywood. It seems like you have a lot of experimental filmmaking that was allowed during those eras, and you really find you get I think that's where you really get the what they call the German expressionism type of influence on these movies. It's just I don't necessarily think it has to be a dark movie. I know this is a general term for these movies, but I never really felt that these are dark because there's also movies that are in color that are definitely not very dark movies, such as this Leave Her to Heaven. That those such a movies, and we might talk about that a little bit earlier. I don't know what's going on with Mike. He's having a little bit of trouble reconnecting here, so we'll I don't know what goes on with his phone. It doesn't like to reconnect all the time to the server. I don't know what's going on with it. Oh. I don't. I'm trying not to. I'm trying not to talk a lot about it because I want him to be here when we start talking about this again. Because I don't want to start running through my movies trying to do all this stuff. But what we can do while he's reconnecting is I was going to show you guys top 25, the top 25 film noirs according to Internet Movie Database, and yeah, we hadn't made it to talking about Sunset Boulevard yet, and they they consider Vertigo one. I've seen these two. Laura, I have not seen. That's interesting. Like it's got Jack Webb in it. It looks like Clifton Webb. Excuse me. Diana Andrews, Vincent Price. So that's probably a pretty interesting movie. But most people have seen Maltese Falcon. I've seen M from Fritz Lang. The Lost Weekend. Give me just a second here, everybody. I'm gonna see if he's trying to contact me. Seems like we have some kind of audio issues here all the time with this show. I don't know what's going on. He was working fine. He sounded good, and then all of a sudden he just dropped off the radar there. I don't know what happened. But we have Lost Weekend here. Yeah, that's a good movie. I had to think for a minute. I have seen The Lost Weekend. Yeah, that's an interesting movie there. Yeah. Yeah, because that's a Billy Wilder movie. I've certainly seen that one. I've seen so many movies I have to try to remember what I've seen, but out of the past I've certainly seen. That's a fairly recent watch. Ace in a Hole I've seen. That's an excellent movie with Kirk Douglas. Sorry, I'm not talking about these a whole lot, but yeah, Ace in a Hole is a really 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 good movie. Yeah, I don't know. Mike keeps trying to reconnect. I don't know what's going on with him. I have not think I've seen the third. I've not seen the third man. I don't think. Night of the Hunter. Touch of Evil is an excellent movie. Definitely a noir. Dial M for Murder. Can't remember if I've seen that one. Scarlet Street. Can't remember. Leave Her to Heaven. I've seen. Pick Up on South Street. I'm not sure if I've seen. Strangers on a Train. Double Indemnity I've seen. I can't believe it's so low ranked. Double Indemnity is considered one of the it's usually considered one of the quintessential. Excuse me, I'm itching. It's usually considered one of the quintessential noir movies. A lot of people say if you want to know what a noir movie is, watch Double Indemnity. That's also a Billy Wilder movie. Yeah, Alan, I know I see that you're watching there, but yeah, I'm sorry, I'm having technical difficulties with my co-host here. He's not able to reconnect. Hang on a second, Mike. Oh, there you go.
I don't know. Can you hear?
Can you hear me, Mike?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear
Can
me,
you hear
John?
me? I still can't hear you.
Hmm.
I don't I don't know what's going on.
Can you hear me?
Hang on just a second, Mike. Don't go anywhere. Hang on a second. I think it's on my end.
Okay.
Can you hear me now, Mike?
No.
Can you hear me? See if I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. It was on my end.
Oh,
My
okay.
my headphones just decided just to completely disconnect on their
Yeah.
own.
It's like
And
Wi-Fi, man. It's crazy.
yeah, that was my bad. I put you through all that mess and it was me the whole damn time. Yeah.
Oh, it happens.
Cuz
Keep,
for some
keep
reason
things
here lately
exciting.
for some reason these headphones they should make a noise when they connect or disconnect, but they haven't been doing it lately. I don't know how the function got turned off. I never turned the function off, but they quit
Hmm.
doing it. So now it just disconnected.
Do you have
Like if I
a Wi-Fi micro or headset? Is it Wi-Fi
they're Bluetooth.
Or Bluetooth? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I don't know
Okay.
why that happened for. That's weird.
It just
It happens.
keeps things
Yeah.
interesting, I guess.
Well, I'll remember it now if that happens again. That's why I said earlier when I said, "Hey, it sounds like I was getting monitoring." It's because
Hmm.
the headphones turned off, and it whenever the noise canceling part of the headphones does something different, it turns off. So it I don't know it
No,
causes a different sound in them.
no, it's
I was
fine.
like, it's weird. It was weird.
Well, let me show one. I guess I'll go with
All right.
some. Um, well, this was a rare movie, kind of a rarish movie. This was a through the Film Noir Foundation, which they do a lot of restoration work of movies through UCLA. Uh, this came out a few years ago. This is a DVD. 2011 it came out. I'm not sure if it's on Blu-ray, um, but this is a movie called The Prowler, and it was a movie that had a lot of interesting things about it. First of all, it was written by Dalton Trumbo, who
Yeah.
at the time he was blacklisted, so it was under a
Yeah.
different name. Um, and and what's the other thing that's weird about it was one of the producers of it is John Huston, the director, and the other producer of it was Sam Spiegel, who would go on and make Bridge on the River Kwai and
Yeah.
like Lawrence of Arabia and stuff like that. Um, and it was pretty racy at the time. I'm not sure some of the stuff in it, and it was
Yeah.
kind of hard to see for a long time. But it stars Van Heflin and Evelyn Keyes. Evelyn Keyes was in a bunch of film noirs and stuff, but it's a really interesting movie. Uh, Basically, he's a cop who's like stalking this lonely housewife lady in Los Angeles, and he decides to try to win her over by killing her husband for her. So it's like I'll be with you if you kill my husband and stuff. And with him being a cop and stuff, and just it's very bleak. It's a very bleak story, very dark, stuff like that. So kind of interesting. But yeah, that's called the Prowler, and I kind of recommend that actually. Check
Yeah,
that
I
out.
might have to try to order that later, see what I can find. Now, the when you were talking about, we won't go into this necessarily just yet, but um, whenever you were talking about Dalton Trumbo, the writer for Johnny Guitar is the similar situation. He was part of the blacklist,
Mm,
and he's credited as I can't remember his name. We'll look it up here in a little bit, but he was in the same situation
yeah.
where but I think the situation with Johnny Guitar was I think there's always been kind of a fight over who really wrote it, if the guy who was given the credit for writing it, or
Mm,
because all these blacklisted writers had front men
yeah.
that could, if they were caught, they could get as much trouble as the blacklisted writers. So
Yeah.
they think the Johnny Guitar, that the writing style more fit the guy that it was on the blacklist, not the guy who's credited. But because
Mm,
the front man was, there was definitely a front man involved, but it
yeah.
kind of went like that. But
Yeah.
we'll get into that a little bit later.
Well, they started on a few people got their credits were properly went back to the original people, like the families of their father or something was a writer and he was blacklisted and he should have won the Oscar. Like the guy that had the front name won the Oscar for it, and I can't think of which
Yeah,
one movie it is, but like they tried to switch it around to where he could properly be awarded, the Oscar.
yeah,
I'm trying to think of what movie that's for. I wanted to bring the point up, but I can't remember what it was on though. But that was kind of one of the things that happened later on. Like they were trying to properly, you know, recognize the people during the blacklisting, that because there was a bunch of them on TV, movies, and all that stuff. So
yeah. But let's see what I want to move on to here. I guess I'll talk about. This is one of them that was definitely that we kind of talked about a little bit earlier, but I'll talk a little bit about Detour.
oh yeah,
And but Detour is directed by Edgar G. Ulmer, and it was definitely a poverty role. It's a poverty role. Getting some noise in here. I don't know what's going on with my mic all of a sudden. Now all of a sudden we're having other issues. But
you got gremlins in your stuff, man.
can you hear it, or is it just on my end?
I didn't hear anything that time.
Okay, it's probably not going out to the audience. I apologize to everybody for the audio issues we're having. But Detour is kind of about it's about kind of it's a essentially about in the beginning you got a guy who is, you start out with a, kind of, you got a guy that's he, the opening scene, you have a guy that goes into a diner, and he's being like really, rude. He's in a really bad mood. People are trying to talk to him. He's just like having none of it. And then it kind of cuts back. Then he starts doing the typical noir thing where they start having a flashback. The story's told in flashback essentially, of kind of why he's in this situation. But he starts flashing back, and he's essentially in love with this girl. He's a piano player, and he's in love with this girl, and the girl, in typical fashion, she's like, "Oh, I want to be I want to try my hand at acting in Hollywood." And they're like in like New York or someplace, New Jersey or something like this, and playing this little piano bar. And so it kind of cuts to, I guess it's a few weeks later, a month, and he's like, calls her on the phone and says, "Hey, I'm gonna come out there no matter what. Let's get married and all this." And she's out in Hollywood just waiting tables, like he basically predicted in an earlier movie that said you'll probably just end up being slinging hash or something. And that's what she does. She ends up being a hash slinger, which is just a food, just a waiter essentially. And back in those days. But so he embarks on this journey across country hitchhiking, and he essentially gets in. He gets a ride with the guy, and then the guy gets him to drive, but then the guy dies on him, like in the car. So he has to. So he's basically stuck in this situation where if he tries to go to the authorities, he's going to be arrested because it looks bad on him. Mm-hmm. So he basically ends up dumping the body. And then later on down the road, he picks up a hitchhiker, this girl, and then this girl decides to this girl ends up revealing herself that she knows this guy and kind of knows this grift, or thinks he's grifting her because he's in their car, and this guy had left a bunch of money, so it ends up being this girl's just like, and she's just like completely vicious, just like a girl in a noir movie. Sometimes she's mean they're both mean to each other. Yeah, she's trying to blackmail him into like trying to fake a guy's identity to basically to get at somebody else's money. There's a guy that's dying, and he's looking for his son, and she's trying to get him to get him to fake the identity to try to get this money from this guy, and he doesn't want to do it, but he ends up accidentally killing her. So then he's really murdered somebody, and that's basically where the movie ends. The movie doesn't have a real ending. That's what we were talking about. That's the movie that it's heralded as a really great movie, but it really doesn't have an ending to it. It really don't. It shows him at the end getting technically busted by the cops, but he just gets picked up on the side of the road. There's no real pursuit for him. There's nothing else happens after that point in the movie. So
maybe it leaves it to you to kind of think about what he did, how to end it, like what happens next or something. But isn't it like where he's going to that town, and because he picks up the girl or something, it seems like it's like a price he pays, for the something to do with the girl and stuff. Like he made a mistake, like he gets into all this stuff happens to him as a result of it or something. I hope I don't got it mixed up with something else, but
he's trying to he's hitchhiking to California, and he gets in with that one guy, and the guy ends up dying on him. He's like riding in passenger, and he like just dies on him. And
I see Mike Gray 1951.
Yeah,
just popped up there. I think Detour pretty well. I think he covered it recently. So I'm trying to remember exactly what happened with that, but he might know.
Yeah. But
another movie that similar DOA. That always get those two together for some reason, but totally different story though. I don't. Sorry, I don't want to go down. I'm messing you up there.
No, he just. But the girl ends up hitchhiking with him, and somehow she knew the guy. She knew the guy that had died, so she thinks that he had killed him for his money. But he's like, "You can have the money."
Yeah.
But she's basically blackmailing. So, well, I'm gonna go to the cops if you don't. If you don't kind of, she gets stuck with him, and she takes him back to her place, and basically kidnaps him in sorts, or forces him to stay.
Yeah.
And she tries to, like, she basically, I think she's just like a lonely woman and wants him to, like, because she kind of insinuates that she wants to sleep with him at one scene. And he just keeps blowing her off. He just keeps being rude. They just keep being just rude back and forth.
Well, isn't he married or something, or he's
no,
engaged or something?
No,
I was thinking
that's why he's hitchhiking to California, because that girl he was going to get married, and they had all kinds of plans, and it's like that typical trope where, like, he's had all these plans with this girl, and she's like, oh, I want to go try my hand at acting in California. And I want to see if I can be a star, and then she goes to California, even though they were planning on getting married, and they, and he basically predicts at the beginning of the movie, he's like, well, you're probably just going to end up slinging hash out there. And that's what she ends up doing. But then he says, well, I'm also, he calls her, I guess, I don't know if there's actually a time frame in the movie, but he calls her later on and says, hey, I'm coming out there, no matter what, I'm coming out there and we're going to get married. And she's basically agrees with him, but yeah, and that's when then it's like a cross country journey. And then all this crap happens to him, and he ends up basically ruins his life because he's trying to come out there. It's kind of a
I was thinking of something else that's similar but not similar, but like with that story, it's like he could have just kind of got free of it. If he hadn't got tangled up with the woman, he could have maybe just slipped out of town, got away from it without the police catching him, get away from that situation. But he got tangled up with the woman and all that stuff. So that's a good trope of film noir. It's just something that a sticky situation that you get tangled up in and you can't get out of it. And that's what ultimately brings him down. Brings him. Yeah. But it's a great movie. But no, DOA.
It's a great movie. I just feel like that's kind of maybe what makes it a little bit of a great movie is how it ends. It just kind of ends without an ending. I mean, that's not necessarily a weird thing. It's just I felt like it shortened it, and that's something I do like about. And that's another thing. It's a little bit, I guess, indicative, or it's a little bit. Kind of about noirs is that they tend to be short. They're kind of like comedies. They're not long movies. Most of them are around an hour and a half or less. I mean, I guess you got a few that might be around 2, but most of the time they're short, which I kind of like.
Yeah, I think Detour is only like an hour and 15 minutes or something. It's not very long. But yeah, I think Gray 1955 said the girl had hitched with the same guy, so she knew the second guy was just pretending to be someone he isn't. And his first mistake was not waiting for the police to come along so he could tell what happened. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I've watched so many movies here lately. It's like sometimes they blend together. So, but yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, and he just that the guy just died because he had a medical condition. It just all these things just happened to happen. It's just it's like.
Yeah, I didn't talk about any of that stuff because I'm long-winded enough when I do reviews. I'm horrible at reviewing, so.
No, I think I do the same. You want me to show something? I think I got one more recommendation or something, and then there's that one that we both kind of were talking about.
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is from 20th Century Fox, 1948. This is called Roadhouse. And
yes, Picking Up Arrows for.
Yeah, it's on Blu-ray. This is the old DVD release of it, but it's on Blu-ray now. But this is a great movie. It's got Ida Lupino, Cornell Wilde, Celeste Holm, and the biggest part of it is Richard Widmark. Now during this time period, he was like hot as fire. I mean, he was in so many movies, like one after another, was just classic stuff. Like for 2-3 years straight, he was just making everything he did was great. And it's really cool movie. Richard Widmark is basically an owner of a roadhouse. It's kind of like a bar, and it's got like a stage for singers. It's on the border of Canada and the United States, somewhere up in there, up north. He picks up this girl that he met in another town who's Ida Lupino to sing at his restaurant. And he brings her in, and she basically meets him and just like, I don't know if I want to do this. And Cornell Wilde is his partner that owns the roadhouse with him. And he's basically like, here's your money, just go on home, because this guy's just going to mess with you and whatever. It's going to end badly. So I'm going to save you the trouble. And she's like, well, no, I'm going to come up here and work because that's what he gave me the money for. I'm going to do this and stuff. So basically it gets mixed up, and a bunch of little things happen. She ends up being attracted to the Cornell Wilde guy, who's originally supposed to be with Richard Widmark. I'm trying to think. But anyway, something happens. I think Cornell Wilde like had a history, like he just got out of prison or something. I'm not 100%. And Richard Widmark was going to blackmail him for something. And it has a really good ending. I think that's what I'm really getting to here. It's a great ending in the fog. It's like like at night. It's foggy. It's on the lakefront, and they're trying to get away from him, and they end up killing. I'm trying to think if they kill Richard Widmark. I don't know, but anyways, it's a great movie. I'm going to totally tear everything up and go long-winded. I'll just cut off right now. But anyways, but yeah, it's a good movie. Check it out. Roadhouse. Don't get it confused with the Patrick Swayze Roadhouse. But it's really good.
You're gonna make mad the Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
Swayze crazy people.
Swayze crazy, yeah. Which it's not a bad movie.
It's kind of funny that you mentioned that's a trope you find in a lot of noirs is fog, like. Because I've got one that was really good. You can't see it here. It's called Escape in the Fog.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that's another kind of World War II espionage, kind of like an espionage type of noir.
Mm-hmm.
Another excellent one on that. That's an excellent set. I'm gonna try to buy the other 2 or 3 that's out, but they're like $34 a piece, but you get 9 movies, so it's well worth $34 for those.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess I don't know if they're all Columbia, but everything I watched so far has been Columbia Noir, so they've all been some pretty good stuff. Columbia produced some good noirs.
A lot of those ended up in those indicator sets. There's like I think 3 volumes or 4 volumes. Some of those ended up on that one. They're all Columbia movies, so.
That's why I'd rather get those. I'd rather just get the domestic release of it, and those transfers are just as good.
Mm. They're usually the same transfer. They just put it out there. But I think I have I only have the 3rd one of the indicator sets, volume 3. I think volume 3. But yeah.
I guess the last one for me before we get on to the one we're kind of a joint effort. I mean, there's several we can talk about. I mean, definitely probably need to talk about before we get off here, but I'll hurry up and run through this one. But this is just a classic. Oh crap! I dropped it. I'm knocking my microphone all over the place. There, it's Double Indemnity.
Oh yeah,
Double Indemnity. Classic Billy Wilder. Wonderful movie.
It's like just, the perfect.
It's where to stop. Yeah, that's why I was telling the audience while you were off there. You know, and I said that double indemnity is usually considered it's usually considered kind of the basis for, if you want to say, hey, if you want to watch the quintessential noir movie, it's kind of considered that.
Yeah,
by a lot of people.
Oh yeah, it's definitely probably one of the best blueprints for so many ones. And what really made that movie good was, the script. The script was really good, and just the way it was filmed, and it had all the elements and rolled up in one, and great performances, and just great movie. I mean, it's rewatchable. In fact, I'm going to try to watch that this week. I had it lined up to watch, but yeah, I mean, that's definitely one of my favorite.
Yeah, Barbara Stanwyck is she's beautiful. I mean, I think she's wonderful in the role. I think she's hot for the era. It's kind of weird, but Edward G. Robinson's awesome in this movie, and Fred McMurray, it's really good. Mm-hmm. It's kind of funny though. I did watch. I'm sorry, I haven't actually told the audience anything about the movie, but the documentary does talk about how they actually had trouble getting people to be in the movie because of I can't remember. I mean, it's kind of funny because Billy Wilder hadn't made a lot of movies at the point of when it was made. He'd only made a couple before that, I believe. So I don't guess his legend had quite risen to that point. I guess people kind of knew he was a good director, but he well,
he was better known as a writer. He was a well-known writer, but I think he had to prove his directing. I think that is his third movie, I think.
Yeah.
And after that, they were like, wow, he can direct and write.
Yeah. But he basically got Barbara Stanwyck to be in it by basically kind of trying to play double, being kind of playing reverse psychology on her a little bit, being like, so he's basically saying, are you an actress or you're like a birdie or something like that? But basically saying, are you a real actress or are you just, or not? So she was a pretty tough actor. She was one of the best actresses at the time, and she was no nonsense, and she had a lot of clout, in the business and stuff. And yeah, she was afraid that it was going to kind of ruin her career or something by playing that type of character. Yeah. Because she was, at the time, I think they said she was like you're saying, she was like, I think the highest paid female actress of the time, one of the most popular female actresses of that current year. And so, he was basically like, are you a real actress or not? To play his part. And they had offered it. I forget the guy they offered the part to, but he originally I forget, he was another real popular actor at the time, but they let him, and he said, they gave him the script and he said, you need to read this to me. I don't read scripts. And he said, I don't read. You just tell me about it. And he was like, and they were like, and they were reading it to him. He said, well, when's just tell me when the lapel scene is. And he was talking about, he said, and they're like, yeah, lapel scene. What are you talking about? He said, yeah, it's when the guy flips up his lapel and reveals that he's a detective the whole time. And they're like, yep, he didn't get the part. Yeah. He was just sound like just a airhead actor, Yeah. Good actor probably, but just.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, Fred McMurray, though, getting the part, because every time, me growing up thinking, he was a TV actor, My Three Sons and stuff, and then to discover what he was doing early on in his career, because, he did a few Westerns and stuff too, but he kind of almost didn't fit in those roles. Sometimes he looked uncomfortable. I've seen him in a few movies, but they're actually pretty good though. But I don't know. Fred McMurray was this actor that, I don't know. He doesn't always look right in certain parts. You know what I mean? Like if he was in a war movie, I don't think I could buy him in a war movie with a helmet on his head and fighting a war or something. I don't know. He's just odd, I guess. But in that role, though, I would have never expected that. He would have done it so well. Fit that role perfectly.
Yeah, and I believe they talk about how Edward G. Robinson, they believed it was almost Billy Wilder putting himself in the movie, because they felt like he was kind of like that, at least the way the character in Double Indemnity is that Edward G. Robinson's playing. He had kind of the same stature, same kind of mannerisms, kind of the way he joked with people in the movie.
Yeah.
And things like that. That was kind of Billy Wilder's way of putting himself into the movie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and they had a big the guy that wrote the movie too. Yeah, Billy Wilder actually worked. I think that's why the script, that there's a he's a co-writer on the movie, because the guy wrote, actually was kind of credited with writing, or at least writing the script. Excuse me, it's adapted from a book. I'm sorry, but it's adapted from a book. But they basically give the book to the guy and said he was a good writer, but it's like, hey, we're, go make this into a script. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll be back in a few days. And Billy Wilder was like, uh-oh, this ain't good. Cause I guess you couldn't just pump out a script. And he came back in a few days and they said the script was absolute shit. They said it was terrible. So Billy Wilder had to work through the process and kind of get him up to speed on actually making a script. They said he had the words, but he just didn't have the experience to write scripts in Hollywood. So Billy Wilder worked with him, and they both hated each other because they were both completely opposing personalities, and it was really interesting. Like, he was like Billy Wilder's an extrovert, and this guy was like a very introvert, and Billy Wilder drank, and this guy was on the wagon. And I think it drove him back to drinking and all this stuff. It was, and all kinds of crazy stuff. Billy Wilder was just, I guess he was just like a bundle of energy. He just kind of bounced around the room, and it drove this guy mad. He ended up threatened to quit at one time, and wrote this whole list of accusations that he was throwing at Billy Wilder. So they had like a war just to make the screenplay for this movie. So, but it turned out wonderful.
Yeah, I grabbed the DVD off the shelf. I didn't realize that it was a novel by James M. Cain, who probably most famous for like The Postman Always Rings Twice, which is another really good noir type movie. But it says Raymond Chandler helped do the screenplay with Billy Wilder, who Raymond Chandler's famous for some other movies, like I'm having a brain fart, but I think he worked with like what was it? I want to say The Maltese Falcon, but it's not. I don't know. Is it The Maltese Falcon? I'm trying to think of what Raymond Chandler worked with though, but he did some interesting stuff. And like you were saying, he was the guy that I think he was like pretty much on the sauce a lot, man. He was the one drinking a lot and they were trying to get something, like you said, get him straight on the
page. Great 1951. I couldn't think of it either. It's The Big Sleep.
Big Sleep. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I totally forgot about that. That he had wrote that novel and stuff. Because at first I thought it was just a Billy Wilder movie, and he usually works with a guy named Charles Brackett a lot, and I thought maybe that's what it was. But
the Blue Dahlia also, which I haven't seen that or read that. I don't know if that's a book or a movie. The Blue Dahlia, is that a movie?
Oh yeah,
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, that's one of the Veronica Lake and Alan Ladd movies. I think it was the last one they teamed up in together. They did the Glass Key and what's that one? This Gun for Hire. And that was pretty good.
Does it have any? Does that have any kind of tie-in with the Black Dahlia, or is it a completely different subject matter?
I believe it's different because I believe it's different.
I need to check that one out. It sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it is. Veronica Lake's always really good. She does pretty good roles.
Yeah.
He always plays the dame, the dangerous dame, or something. I think in that role she played actually a decent, like she wasn't as bad. I'm trying to think.
But I'll try to do a quick over of Double Indemnity. Double Indemnity is, basically, Fred MacMurray plays an insurance salesman. He goes to the house of Barbara Stanwyck. She's there alone. He ends up coming in, and he first gets introduced to her by seeing her she comes out basically just wearing a towel, and he spots he keeps focusing on her anklet. Is she wearing around her ankle? And she's kind of in a very seductive manner. She comes down and starts talking to him, and he's basically there just to renew her husband's insurance. And she starts asking him about what kind of insurance they sell, and he's like telling him everything. And she's like, "Well, they sell accident insurance?" And then so he's like, "Yes." And at the moment, he doesn't have any premeditations about what she's talking about. So he leaves, and then he comes back a couple of days later to actually the husband's not there, so he comes back a couple of days later. But he essentially sells. She ends up starts talking to him about buying accident insurance. So she finds out that, well, do you want your husband dead? And she's like, yeah. So, and he's like, since he's in the insurance business, he knows all the ins and outs about getting away with it. So he kind of plots this elaborate scheme to kind of get around the insurance system so she can have her husband killed. And it ends up happening on the train, and the actual death goes right. They fake his death. They kill him at first, and then they fake a death by him jumping off the train and making it seem like his husband had fell off her husband had fell off the train. And they and then it gets into the kind of insurance side of it. Edward G. Robinson's character is he's like the main boss of the insurance company. So he starts investigating, and at first he's just gonna approve the claim, and then he starts thinking about it more and more, and it gets him more and more in depth about it, and he starts thinking about it basically, and ends up Fred MacMurray basically ends up having to.
Well, there's something he says. There's something Edward G. Robinson says a lot. He says, "I have this little man that tells me stuff," and that kept eating at him, and stuff. So he had this instinct
right here.
So it may have worked, but if it wasn't for him and that little there was a lot of good details, like you said, like the ankle bracelet and stuff, little things like that really draw you in to this woman, and the setting and stuff is really really cool.
But but of course, and two, I mean, you get this in a lot of movies, but if I feel like this is something you have in like a song, like a music, but you get there's sometimes a mention of the name of the movie in it. Either they named the movie afterwards, or it was named before, but there's a mention of the movie name in it that gets tied in, because double indemnity is like a double indemnity clause in the insurance policy that basically is going to pay out double in case a certain thing happens. It's almost like a way you might bet on something in Vegas. The way you might bet on a horse or a basketball game. It's just if certain things happen, you double your money. Essentially, it's like, but it's a double indemnity clause in that gets mentioned during the movie. And I pick up stupid things like that. It's not important, but it's like from listening to a lot of music, a lot of some music, they'll mention the name of the song in the music, and that's how the song was named. Obviously, sometimes it's not, but you find that you find little things like that in noirs a lot of time. Little things like that. Not all of them, but some do that.
But yeah, it's just a great movie. I mean, it's one of those that. See, I don't see how like somebody maybe younger that if you showed this movie to them, they wouldn't like it. It has such a great story, and we were talking about maybe because it's in black and white, maybe certain people wouldn't watch it or something, but I think some movies just go beyond that, and if people just give it 5 minutes, they'll really get sucked into the story, because it's hard not to really get drawn into that, story.
Yeah. So, we were going to kind of the movie we both could mention at first. You mentioned it first, and I just didn't pay attention to it on your list. And then when I gave it to you, I realized, hey, this movie, we both posted this, but I just watched this recently for the first time, and I don't know if I got this from you or I got it from another list. I think I got this watching a documentary. I think this is how I found out about this, but this is Out of the Past.
Oh yeah.
Robert Mitchum, Jane Greer, a young Robert Mitchum too. So
yeah, I think it was actually his very first starring role. Like he hadn't been top billed in anything, and his first movie as being top billed and stuff. And
yeah,
kind of like Double Indemnity, Out of the Past is one of those great ones. I mean, it's just ones that other movies kind of copied more or less, and stuff like that. And it had so much, with the cinematography and the direction and the look, and it just really good. I was going to show you this. I didn't have the Blu-ray of it. I only have the laser disc of it. So I got this old laser disc. But that's something I was wanting to upgrade, get the Blu-ray of it eventually.
Yeah, I don't think I paid a lot for that. You have to look for it on Amazon. It wasn't too bad expensive.
No, I just haven't done it yet.
But yeah, I thought it was a really excellent movie. But this one is this one? I'm trying to think of the beginning of it. Now I just watched it. I'm kind of trying to think of the beginning. It's got an interesting way it sets up everything. It's the part of the story is played in flashback, and then it reconnects to current events. But basically, Robert Mitchum's character is at the beginning. He's basically a mechanic or owns a gas station, kind of pumping gas, and you kind of have a feeling he has a shady past. But somebody tops in town, and they're looking for him, and you see that he has a relationship with a woman there in town, and they're kind of planning on. But then the guy comes and visits him, and kind of his past starts coming back to haunt him, and then he has to kind of confess, and the girl say, my real name is this, not what I've told you, and then the story goes into flashback, and he starts talking about his past as like they called him, it was like he called himself like a detective, but he wasn't like a law enforcement detective. They were like kind of independent private eye type dicks, but kind of tough men. It's not really, I don't know what the real name for them were, but he wasn't like a law enforcement detective, but they called him that. They called themselves that. They were detectives, but they were kind of independent detectives, basically, that solved cases for like corrupt people, basically people that could go and collect.
Yeah,
but they could go collect. But yeah, do they call them PIs or detectives? Yeah, but yeah, they were kind of like that, independent detectives. But sorry, I got hung up on that. But but you start finding out about his past, and you find out he was involved with another woman, and all that kind of, and the woman's like keeps trying to, the woman what happens exactly? The woman double crosses him or something, and
yeah, I was trying to remember that part because I know he's running a gas station. He basically was in a associated with a mob.
Oh no! I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. I cut you off there. I remember he's this woman she's supposedly stole money from this kind of gangster type fellow, and he's put on the case to go find her, essentially. And so he goes to like Mexico to he goes all the way like to Mexico and tracks her down. And and while he starts interacting with her without her knowing that he's investigating her, they kind of fall in love. Yeah. And she somehow she like I think she kind of double crosses him at the end. She ends up, but his partner that works with him's not involved with this case, but then he comes into the picture because they think that he's basically kind of double crossing the Robert Mitchum's character, and he and she ends up killing him, and they end up going their separate ways, and he kind of goes and starts his life, and eventually that life kind of catches back up with him, and she comes back into the fray and basically tries to set him up again, and
yeah. I was trying to remember that too. Kirk Douglas is like, he's in it, and I think Mitchum Douglas gets Mitchum to find this girl because she took off with the money, and they end up falling in love or something. And then I think what they do is they try to like take off on their own together, and then I guess Kirk Douglas catches up with them. I'm trying to piece it all together, but. And it kind of ends that way. Like I think he's telling it in like a flashback. Like I don't know if he's just got shot and he's thinking back, or I'm trying to remember that little detail about it. But yeah, it's really good.
It's pretty bad. I just watched it and kind of forgot it. But literally, I've probably watched about 5 or 6 movies in between watching that. So you know how it is. You see so many. Yeah, but he said, but the girl goes back to. He said the Gray 1951 says kills the partner, and then she goes back to the gangster. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we should show this. Mike and Jon try to remember movies.
Yeah.
that could be our last one.
Yeah. But it's trying to something that kind of sticks out in this movie too. I'm trying to think who directed this movie.
Oh, that's the Jacques Tourneur.
Jacques Tourneur, yeah, okay. Because that's something that's you always see associated with noirs is like architecture a lot of times, and that's another reason I brought up Johnny Guitar too, is because Nicholas Ray actually. I think he studied under Frank Lloyd Wright before he became a filmmaker, and there's a lot of he puts a lot of architectural influence in his cinematography and in his movie and design sets, and there's a lot of visual referencing going on, and I feel like there's quite a bit of architecture kind of going on and out of the past, especially interior architecture. There's a lot of detail put into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I noticed that a whole lot with it. I really appreciate that. I don't know. It's just that's why I like it. There's so many good details about noir movies that it's really wonderful. That it's hard to explain. It's.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to do with like the lighting and stuff. It's kind of cool, using light for shape, and showing off stuff. It's really interesting. Set design and stuff like that.
Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, I really forget things fast as well, but I forget names. That's what hangs me up. I don't know why I do that, but I sure do. But
yeah, I do too.
Well, and when you watch as much as we do too, it just your brain is, it's hard for it to absorb that much information.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about these. God, I don't know why I'm getting so much noise in my feedback for. Seems like, I hope that's not coming through, but I think the reason why we watch these film historians and film reviewers on these documentaries we see, and they seem so polished, but they prepare for those. They probably give them questions ahead of time so they know what they're going to say, and they're very well very highly researched on that certain topic or whatever movie they're asked to talk about. But so it makes it a lot easier. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just doing quick recall, like off the top of our heads or something. That's usually what I try to do, and I always get hung up on something.
What did you think about Johnny Guitar? The reason because it's considered a noir, so a Western noir.
Western noir, yeah. Oh, I like it a lot. I'm a big fan of it. I got the recent Eureka release of it. And I did a video, and I was telling people, like, if you invest in this, or if you got an older edition, the edition you just showed, to hang on to that because of all the special features that it has, that it's not on the Eureka edition. So it's like, especially if you're a fan of the movie, to keep both editions and everything. But
what's the difference? Did you get rid of your copy like this, or?
Oh no,
because this is a beautiful cover. Not usually. I've kind of got out of that, the physical part of the physical media and just about the content, but this is a beautiful cover. It's it's
a nice,
beautiful slipcase. So,
well, I think that one's got like 6 documentaries or something, and on the newer release, it's only got like maybe 1 that's from that one. A lot of times they carry over to the next release, but in this case they don't. So it's like, especially if you're a fan, to hang on to it because you're going to have different stuff. But like you were talking about architecture and stuff, like in Johnny Guitar, you see a lot of color matching up with the scenery and different stuff, and it's all balanced and thought out and stuff. Like the colors that I think Joan Crawford wears, like her outfits correspond with this or that, and it's really interesting how he did that.
Well, they talk about how where he is kind of architecturally where his architectural influence comes in is that if you notice, like there's a lot of the interior shots are there's a lot of architecture in the movie, but like even how like the outer settings, even like all the canyon walls and everything that's going on, but everything almost seems like you're kind of trapped in a tight space. Everything's supposed to be kind of like a tight space, even the outdoors. You're like in this canyon, you're like amongst all these, peaks and mountains and stuff, and it's like everything's kind of closed in.
Yeah. I never really thought about that, but yeah, that's a good point. Even when there's even a little escape place under her saloon, and even when you're in that little cave area, you feel like everything. It feels like everything's encroaching on them. It starts breathing down their neck. You feel the people coming after them and stuff. So yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't really think about that.
Yeah, he says Johnny Guitar is unique because it has 2 powerful women controlling a group of men. Yeah, actually, I think the feminist groups kind of took claim of it. They started going back like they like to do, and like they like to rename stuff, but it's considered a feminist kind of movie. I don't call it and I've been thinking about this since I've kind of watched that documentary that was talking about that. I wouldn't call it it's a feminine movie, not a feminist movie, because I equate feminist to a political movement, and there's nothing political about what's going on, but it is a feminine, it is a more girl power movie, but not a feminist movie. So, yeah, it's kind of speak.
It's kind of like Joan Crawford's, a very headstrong woman who's worked really hard to have what she's got, and then you got that other woman who's just very, wants to take down the saloon so the railroad can go through there, and she's so jealous of her. It's like she wants to be the main woman in town with some power. So yeah, you see there is that power struggle between them two. And, of course, a couple guys kind of figure into that, like maybe they're fighting over a guy, but it's really over just having power, in that town, which is really kind of interesting. But yeah, as far as it being, I don't know. I mean, it's like, if you want to call it that, people want to call it that they can call it that. But, I would think it's, it's different. That's what makes it really interesting. For the time, you didn't really see stuff like that as much.
Mercedes McCambridge is her name, the other woman's name.
Yeah. She's half crazy in the movie.
I'm trying to think. It says all the king's men. Oh, never mind. That's just part of the description. But I think, am I not wrong? It's Mercedes. I forgot to look it up before this, and I still can, but in a minute. But wasn't Mercedes McCambridge? Isn't she the sister of Rock Hudson's character in Giant? Isn't she the? I might be thinking. I'm thinking. I feel like she's too young for that person. I might be wrong, but it feels she's in Mercedes McCambridge is in something else. I'll have to look her up here and see what else she's in.
She was in one of the Orson Welles movies, but I can't. I'm not 100% on that. It seems like she was in something. I probably got her mixed up with somebody else, but she might be too young for that. I want to say
she could have been aged up though. Just like a lot of the other characters were, how they did.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking of somebody else.
Nope, that's her in Giant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It is her, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think I don't know if I've seen All the King's Men or not. I can't remember. I've seen so much.
I've seen it once. It's a good movie. I don't own it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a really good movie.
Yeah, Giant's, the reason I can remember that, Giant's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's up there.
Oh,
I love that movie.
Yeah,
I've never have made a review for it. I've meant to forever, and I'm going to one of these days. And I just want to do it justice when I give it a review, because it's a movie that everybody needs to see. And
yeah,
but a lot of people won't see it because it's long, And I said earlier, I like short movies, but I like long movies as well. But sometimes I appreciate a short movie.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I mean, that's the way I feel too about talking about certain movies, that are my favorites. It's like, there's no way I can give it true justice, and talking about how it makes you feel or anything. But, sometimes I try, I wish, like you said, I was more polished and stuff to really touch upon everything I feel about a movie or something. But I do it in my own style. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. I see where Gray, 1951 Mike said that she was the voice of the demon in The Exorcist. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, this was another one that you recommended. This one, I hadn't seen this, but this is kind of a color noir. It was excellent.
Yeah, that's
another excellent movie. Leave Her to Heaven.
Yeah, just the scene with her letting the little boy or the young guy drown is just so.
Yeah,
it's such a shocking scene. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, you when you explained it to me, I thought that sounds pretty interesting. But so many of these movies. But the thing is the the problem with, you have modern Hollywood and with the Me Too movement and all this stuff, and they, maybe women back in the day wasn't paid as much as men, but there were some great roles for women. There's better roles for women back in those days, and I think that there's been, well, not necessarily throughout Hollywood, but there's been some of the greatest roles I've ever seen are for women. Some of the more powerful women roles have been in this era, and and I just, people just don't. It's just like all, any. I don't want to get political, but it's just like a lot of the movements going on out here. They have no conception of history, so they.
Well, in the story, it's like based on the story. Whatever the story's about. If it means having a strong female role, then it does. If not, it's, I don't know. It like you said, it's a debate that could just go on and on and on, and it is what it is, and it's just like a lot of stuff, So I don't know. I don't know. I just try to enjoy myself when I watch a movie, and I don't look at it like, oh, this movie didn't have a strong female lead in it. I hate this movie now. It's like, I don't feel that way. I don't.
No, that's but that's what they're trying to push these days. They're trying to make these movies have that stuff on purpose. It's purposely being done, and it don't make any sense in some aspects.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous to, it's like, because it's like, we don't need Hollywood or anybody to make a movie to show strong women roles or something. We should already accept a woman, not feel like you're above her. So, we don't need a movie to explain that and teach somebody something. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you're back. It did it again. It just disconnected for no damn reason.
Oh, am I back? Okay.
No, I disconnected again. So.
Oh, okay.
You're fine.
But yeah, well, actually, there's another thing. Let me show you this. I got this big book. It's called The Art of Noir, and it's by Eddie Muller. And it's a really big, it's kind of a big book. And it's got a lot of reproductions of posters, a lot of poster art in here of different releases. Shows some like Japanese and some European releases of American movies. And it's got a lot of nice artwork. It's on really nice cardstock. It's got a good write up about each movie that they show and stuff, and it's really cool. And it came out. This book came out, I want to say about 10 years ago, and I found it really cheap actually on eBay, and I got it for under $10. And it's a really big book. I mean, it's a big book. I think we lost John, but I'll show this real.
No, I'm still here. I'm just soloing your channel so you can show that picture.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I got it used on eBay, and it was under $10, but it's a pretty heavy book. It retailed for $35 when it first came out, and I think I got it for under $10. And if you like noir and stuff like that, it's a really cool addition to that. It kind of shows off the art, is what it's called, the Art of Noir, and it shows how they kind of made the posters, how they placed the guy here and the woman here, and some of the stuff behind how they did that and stuff. It's kind of interesting, but I like posters a lot. History of posters and stuff, so that's pretty cool.
I like those big coffee table books. It'd be a nice one to have. I don't have a coffee table to put them on right now, but the
size of it's really tall. It's kind of tall and stuff, so it doesn't really go on a shelf easily. So you got to kind of leave it out, sort of. Well, a coffee table book, basically. You have to leave it laid out, but. Yeah, it's really neat. And Eddie Muller does a lot of good stuff. He's wrote some books on noir He's on TCM, hosts a lot of stuff, and he podcasts and stuff like that. He's really cool.
Cool. I'll have to check him out. But is there anything else you're really wanting to talk about? I mean, we didn't really get into like Sunset Boulevard, and
oh yeah,
I actually had a few more that I've watched, but they've been a while, and these are kind of they're part of the Kino Lorber Noir sets, and these are just some I've watched out of here, like He Ran All the Way.
Oh, okay.
This is a good one. Oh crap! I hit my microphone. This is a pretty good one. The Big House.
Yeah.
And Witness to Murder. I like Shelley Winters. This was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Shelley Winters. These are just some. I go into more depth about them, but they've been a while since I've watched them. I actually had to look at some of the backs to see. Now, He Ran All the Way with Shelley Winters. Witness to Murder was Barbara Stanwyck.
Oh,
I had them backwards. Had them backwards there.
Yeah, Shelley Winters was in a lot of early noirs like that. She was in a movie that's called Larceny that I watched. I recently got, and she was pretty decent in it.
Yeah. I was trying to think of another movie that she's in. I think it's considered a noir, but I cannot think of it. It's a classic.
Well, yeah, you showed that one. He Ran All the Way.
Yeah. But this is another big one. I can't think of the name of it. Damn it! But she's in another one that's. I don't know if it's a noir or not, but it's kind of got a movie about somebody drowning in it as well. Somebody drowns and somebody gets kind of framed for it, I believe. But I'm trying to think of the name of it if somebody can remember. But I meant to look it up before. I was going to pull it earlier and then I forgot about it.
I'll have to look it up. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be it. A Double Life, maybe. I can't think. That's the name of it. A Double Life. That might be it. Yeah.
Double Life. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of weird the way I got into Shelley Winters. Which I'd obviously seen her when I was a kid and stuff on Roseanne and probably seen her in some other movies. But the reason I got watching her was this guy on YouTube. Actually, I'm trying to think of what his name is now, but he was just one of those guys who lived in Hollywood and he basically went around to like different locations and talked about filming locations.
Oh,
and
okay.
And just stuff like that, or talked about different things around Hollywood. But
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
but I'm trying to think of his name, but
yeah,
but he I guess he moved out to. He was about my age, but he moved out to Hollywood around 2000. But at some point, he had been a waiter and was he worked for like a. No, he worked for some kind of delivery service. I don't know if it was food delivery, it was some kind of delivery, but he basically delivered food to Shelley Winters, and he got talking to her and ended up becoming her friend and like was her friend for many years in Hollywood. And he I guess she taught her. I guess he was an aspiring actor like everybody out there. And and he kind of got to know her before she died and everything. And he used to talk about her some, so that's where I got to know Shelley Winters from, a little bit about that. And
I think that is the guys. I think it might be. Was it Jordan Days?
Yeah, that's him.
Days he's got like a little
Days
dog.
With Jordan. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. He makes some really good content. Yeah, some really good stuff.
Yeah, he's from this neck of the woods. He's from Ohio, I believe, originally. I believe. Yeah. I haven't watched him in a while, though. I quit watching him, and it quit coming up in my feed, so I need to try to look him back up. I got kind of burnt out. I also like have you ever watched Hollywood Cemetery? Or have you ever watched that guy? That guy's pretty good too. It's a little morbid watching it. It's kind of weird because the music he puts on there, but there's a lot of interesting grave sites he goes to.
Yeah. There's a few of those. There's some really good ones that he's long as he's telling a backstory or a little bit of information or something, it makes it really fascinating. Really.
That's the one I was thinking about. A Place in the Sun. That's the one I was thinking about. A Place in the Sun.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely it. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you for letting me remember that. 1951. I need to check out. Does Gray 1951 have a channel, or is he?
Oh yeah, yeah. He's got a good channel.
Okay. Well, definitely. He sounds like somebody we need to bring on here, and if you ever want to come on, if you're.
Yeah, we'll have to see if you would want to come on here. And
Well, we've been planning on having some guests. I just haven't really invited anybody yet. I want more people that are geared, people like you that know a lot. That's who I want. People that know more than me for sure. I'm still in the process, even at my age, still in the process of learning and watching a lot. I wasn't lucky. I didn't have like a lot of I didn't have parents and stuff like it. Well, I had supportive parents, but not parents who were into the arts or people who are interested in watching movies. So I didn't have any early influences to watch movies or people to, to kind of point me in the right direction. Even my friends really didn't. I didn't have a lot of friends that were really into movies. I had a couple people that were, but they weren't really into watching old movies. So for a long time, I had to slowly discover them myself.
Yeah, that's me exactly. I mean, it was something I did. That was my little pastime. It wasn't like I had a couple buddies that were like, cool with like Charlie Chaplin or something like that, but but I don't know, just always fascinated. I mean, my parents, my dad always liked Humphrey Bogart movies and, stuff like that and watch that, but not very vast, stuff like that. So, but yeah, I think Mike said he'd hide in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still learning, so much stuff. It's surprised, I know I can even remember half the stuff I've watched and read over my lifetime, it's like I may not guess it right off, but I still trying to retain all that information. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's my quick recall is terrible. Smoked too much weed when I was younger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my worst thing. But for some reason, like when I turned 18, like when I was a senior in high school, I remember I started having issues with remembering names. So I've always been like that. I've always been bad with names. So it kind of fucks my speech up when I'm talking. I forget stuff like that. Just a name though, not so much. It's in my head, but I can't put it out like the way I'm thinking it. I sit around and think stuff. That's why, like on my channel when I do reviews, I've got to quit being so lazy and start writing scripts because I can write it usually better than I can perform it just off the cuff of my head. But I'd rather come off the top of my head. But I think I could write things better. So,
yeah. Sometimes you just need some little notes, just some main things to just help you remember points and stuff. It seems like I do better if I don't do that sometimes. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I get more hung up when I'm trying to read off of something. But like tonight, I've made some notes, but I haven't, I can't sit here and read it all. But yeah, I had one other Laserdisc I got out. I just want to show it. I haven't. Yeah. But it's similar to the Out of the Past one. This is Murder My Sweet.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's similar to that.
Those RKOs are cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. It's got Dick Powell was the actor. He started out in musicals in the 30s, and then he started doing all these, film noir in the 40s. But yeah, that's a classic.
It's kind of funny, all the actors you see that kind of turn up in noirs that are in different noir movies or just turn up in different movies in general. It's kind of funny seeing where people got their start or,
well, especially him, because he was totally doing Warner Brothers musicals and stuff in the 30s and dancing and singing and stuff. And then later on, he's completely different, but he's good at both, but,
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's all I got as far as what I was going to talk about. But I mean, there's so much stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
It's just trying to rein some of it in, and you know.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun tonight. So
Yeah.
I had a good
Yeah, except
time
for that little
talking
audio
about
issue.
this. Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. It was just a couple minutes there, and we were
Yeah.
back on our way. So we'll.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I had a good time talking about it. I don't really care. We end up having some, a few people here and there. That's all I want because we'll get rewatches, and it's pretty cool. I like when we had like Grade 19. Somebody had actually. I like when people come on and actually interact with us. I wish we could get more people, but that's what I'm saying. A lot of people just aren't interested in older movies, actually watching them.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they're out there. It's just,
Yeah.
It's just getting. I mean, I guess newer movies and people that do newer stuff, it gets more hits. More. Watches and stuff just because they're talking about something very current, like the newest releases that came out and stuff like that. But,
well, I'd rather just stick. That's why I've been trying to. Well, I guess doing P.T. Anderson is not so much doing older stuff, but I'm trying to stick with stuff like that. Trying to go back to the older stuff. I'm just trying not to. I'm trying to kind of step on you doing stuff and things like that. I'm trying to do different things than you were doing, so we don't intermesh, a little bit. So
that's
but
fine.
I mean, a lot of the stuff you've done, I probably wouldn't have covered anyways. The way the angles you cover things are much different the way I think about it. So I enjoy watching your stuff. That's sometimes I end up not watching your videos. Like I say, sometimes it's because I don't want to spend money, but I try to watch all your videos. But
yeah, that's what I do sometimes, and it's bad. But yeah, like last month I made a lot of film noir videos, and I was thinking I was putting too much out, but I was trying to have like a new video each week with I still have a couple of videos I didn't release yet, but I just had so many videos, and I didn't want to make like an hour-long video each, so.
Yeah, I tend to make mine kind of long sometimes. It just whatever they turn out to be, that's what I leave them at. I cut them the last one I cut down a lot, but it didn't do very good. The P.T. Anderson didn't do very good, so I'm not too worried about it though. I'm just doing it for fun, really. If you want people watch it, they watch it, and
yeah, I did one about him about over a year ago. It was one of my earlier videos, and I basically, covered the ones I had, which is most of them that you did, because he doesn't have 100 movies or anything, but yeah, I basically did the same thing, just kind of showed them off, and I think you did a better job. I think yours was better laid out. Mine wasn't. I don't know. I still cringe sometimes at these videos I do. I don't know. You never know. Like the ones that I think are not very good usually get more views and people like them more. And the ones I think, oh, this is a good one, I'm proud of this one. And nobody watches that one. So who knows? It's just.
We'll just keep plugging away, and that's all you can do.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just how it is. I'm not worried about it. I just like doing what I want to do. I don't want to. I see. I got caught up in that a little bit, especially with the Dollar Tree stuff. And after I did that for like a month or two, I was like, I'm just compiling a bunch of movies that I'm not going to watch, and I don't have any interest in that. I just don't want to have a. I'm not trying to. Some of these people out there is probably gaining huge collections by buying that crap, but it ends up being just a lot of. There's some good stuff in it. I can't say that there is some good stuff in it, but for the most part, it's just not. It's not for me. And if that's what you can afford, that's that's all right as well. Some people they're in a situation where that's all they can afford, maybe, and go out and buy like that. I don't want to take that away from them. It's not making to me a very round movie collection, at least if you're a movie connoisseur, at least, or if you're an actual movie buff or film buff, it's just not the way to go. So I had to drop back off of that kind of way of thinking and be like, hey, I'm just going to start focusing on what I originally intended on, covering older movies and directors and things that that are things of interest instead of, and I kind of lost focus on the physical media side of things too. At one point I was just like today, like I didn't, I bought the Who Framed Roger Rabbit on 4K, but I just bought the regular 4K. I didn't try to bust my, try to get out and get the steelbook of it. Wasn't worried about it. I just wanted the 4K copy. I just want the content. And I've got a bunch of steelbooks, but I'm kind of off of that now. I just kind of want, I kind of come back down to my senses and got out of that whole mode of thinking,
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different kinds of collectors out there, and you see different videos, people that just collect steel books, and I mean, and that's what it's all about, is collecting, but like you said, you just get some stuff that, I mean, I had a lot of fun going to like Dollar Tree and Dollar General in my area, but it got to the point where they weren't getting anything new in. So it's like, I don't want to just go in there and buy something just to buy something. It's like, but they just haven't got any new stuff in my area. And and my dollar,
I felt too. Yeah, that's how.
Well, my Dollar Tree don't have any movies. Every time I go in there, they never have DVDs or nothing. It's weird.
That's weird. Yeah, I was finding them around here, but I wasn't getting like big bunches of Blu-rays. A lot of those places, at least from what I can tell, people stake them out. Like, people like go in like behind the scene. They'll like go in before they're even put out on the shelves. They'll get to know the manager, and they'll let them like go in the back and pilfer through them before they even go on the shelves. So you never know at these locations what actually had been there before they're even been gone through.
Yeah.
So I knew people doing that. I knew people that were doing that. I've seen videos of people doing that, and that's fine. But those movies aren't that good to be doing that with.
I'm not that dedicated, I guess.
No. I'm a little. I'm even reluctant to film in stores sometimes. I got a little bit better at it this year, doing it here and there with the toys and stuff like that. But some people just do it like it's nothing. They'll walk through the whole damn store with their camera out. I don't want that much attention on me. I don't want to look like a prima donna walking around with a camera.
Yeah, I usually just do that at Barnes and Noble because there's usually not a lot of people hanging around, so I'm able to kind of secretly have a talk and make a video. But this last one I did, there was actual people over there checking out videos and stuff, so I didn't really do it. But yeah, I don't know. I guess for every 20 movies you buy the Dollar Tree, you could buy a good one off of Amazon or something, but I don't know. I guess whatever works for you, if that works for people, then
it was kind of, you were getting good views. People got good views from some reason. I don't know why, but I was getting good views, but then I just went and killed my channel with changing the name and everything. So my channel's never recovered since then. That's part of the reason. I was getting decent views at one time, but I just killed my channel with that. Now, I had that one video about 2 weeks ago that did real well. For some reason, that Citizen Kane video did insane. It's done about 1,500 views at this point. I don't know why. Well, I went from 1,500 views to 2 videos in a row that's made less than 30 views.
It's weird, man. You never know. I guess because Citizen Kane just came out, probably, and there's a lot of people getting it, and plus the Blu-ray disc that everyone's going to have to send back or whatever. There's a lot of people making videos about that and stuff like that. But no, I checked out. I watched the 4K. I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed that documentary, the BBC one that was on there.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Yeah,
especially for people like us who like to know a lot about the production aspects of it. It was full of that kind of stuff. I say that one is just about every bit as good as Battle Over Citizen Kane.
Oh yeah. It was really cool. It had the original, that announcer guy that he was talking about it, and the way they, put it together and stuff, and they showed footage that I had never seen, and interviews, and so it was cool. I was really impressed.
Yeah. Well, Mike, we're about 2 hours and 20 minutes in. I think I'm about ready to give it up.
Okay.
It's past my bedtime.
Yeah. I'm usually headed that way myself about this time.
Yep. So, I guess if you want to get off here, as usual, I had a good time. I just like having somebody I can talk movies with like that, and get a little in depth with them. I'm not the best sometimes, but you're always you're always good. You got a lot more knowledge than I do about some of these movies and most of these movies, and
but
I enjoy. That's why I enjoy talking to you though about it.
Yeah,
so that's why
you got a lot of knowledge, man.
Well, but I appreciate you doing this with me. So I have fun and look forward to doing more with you. And
okay, yeah.
Hopefully we'll build a little audience eventually. Hopefully, and
we'll think of something else, and
we'll have maybe get some other people to come on with us every now and then. I like just doing the 2-person discussion, but every now and then it's all right to get somebody in. I sometimes just like bringing people on just because I like supporting the smaller channels.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, I know on Cult of Collectors we do a lot of people with bigger channels, but that's not up to me usually. So I just kind of go along with that, and I like them. And I don't. It's fine, but it's just I try to support smaller channels because a lot of guys when they get big, they won't have nothing to do with small channels, and and if I ever got big to that point and got monetized and all that stuff, which would probably never happen, but if I ever got to that point, I would continue bringing on smaller guests and things like that to help out those small guys, And so that's why I like having people of all walks of life on here, because there's a lot of people, like you're saying, that knows movies better than us and things like that. And I like to talk to a lot of people. So,
yeah.
But I appreciate everybody that's came on here and interacted. It's checked out our channel tonight. I appreciate it. We are Cinerama 60. It's always a mouthful for me for some reason. I named it and I can't say it. No.
Cinerama
60. But I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yep. Bye, guys.